New concerns tonight surrounding leaders of the village of New Lebanon. On Tuesday, 5 administrators were placed on paid leave pending an investigation. Gwen Falloon now joins us live from our newsroom. So Gwen, what exactly are they being accused of?
Elise, there are still a lot of unanswered questions tonight, but according to this report, it's from the Auditor of State's office. The village's manager, David Nickerson, he raised concerns about the village's budget and the, quote, improper use of funds. Now, on Tuesday, to many surprise, the village's manager, police chief, chief financial officer, service department superintendent, and law director, they were all placed on paid leave, and then asked to leave the meeting.
It was a surprise to all of us.
Former New Lebanon Mayor Craig Roberts recalling the moment he heard 5 of the village's leaders have been placed on paid administrative leave.
Mr. Keener, Mr. Henson, Village Manager Glenn Madden, and Police Chief Curtis Hensley, you are excused from this meeting.
The village's manager, police chief, law director, CFO, and service department superintendent asked to turn in village-owned property and escorted from Tuesday's council meeting.
The items that he brought forward weren't on the agenda.
Roberts tells me he frequently goes to council meetings. The additional resolutions brought forward by Mayor David Nickerson were not on the agenda. He says he was shocked to learn the suspensions, as well as an internal investigation conducted by an outside firm, were on the table.
If you're not transparent, then people aren't going to trust you, and they're always going to question what you're doing and your judgment.
Roberts is now doing just that. He says he's questioning the motive and reason behind Nickerson's actions.
Recent events have brought to light issues regarding performance, conduct, and financial management within our village administration and police department. It is imperative that we respond with diligence to ensure that the interest of our community is safeguarded.
Through a public records request, I received a report filed with the Auditor of State's office on February 2nd. It says Nickerson had asked to speak with an auditor about budget concerns and the misuse of funds. He claims, quote, multiple funds are in the red, and the village is, quote, under $200K already this year. The resolutions passed, but not without some pushback.
This is so broad and so general and so deviated that this council cannot, in good stead, analyze what they're voting on. This is something that obviously the council was not advised of this prior to the meeting.
Roberts warns this is only adding to his growing distrust, calling the meeting unprofessional and bad business.
You don't take care of personnel matters like that in an open council meeting.
Now, in the meeting, Mayor Nickerson also mentioned the State Attorney General's office was somehow involved. But when I called earlier, I was told it could not confirm or deny whether there was an ongoing investigation. I also asked to sit down with the mayor, and he said he can't comment either. But we're going to continue to monitor this story, and as we learn new information, we'll let you know here on air as well as online. Back to you.
Gwen, thank you. And tonight, the man accused of a deadly shooting at Napoleon's Bar in late January has now been charged. Darnell Pate was killed at the Jefferson Township Bar. Now, last week, Shaquille Jones was taken into custody on several warrants. Now he's been charged with murder, felonious assault, and weapons under disability. He'll be back in court March 1st. And now we want to give you a live look at the Montgomery County Jail's website, where you can see he is still in custody tonight. Bond set at $750,000. Also tonight, a woman who was found dead in the river has now been identified. The Butler County Sheriff's Office says 44-year-old Erica Tucson of Dayton was found in the Great Miami River in Hamilton. Tucson went missing back in October. Sheriff's deputies, say it doesn't appear to be any evidence of foul play. That investigation is still ongoing. And for the very first time, Pammy May faced a judge since being extradited back to Columbus. She's accused of killing 5-year-old Darnell Taylor, leaving his body in a sewer drain. Their initial disappearance sparking that statewide Amber Alert last week. Stephanie Dupre was in the courtroom.
Pammy May in court virtually Thursday morning, cuffed and quiet, listening to the list of charges against her, including kidnapping and murder. She's accused of suffocating 5-year-old Darnell Taylor inside her Reeb Avenue home. Investigators say May gave police the answers they needed to find Taylor's body. The child was found in a South Columbus sewer drain. Prosecutors pushing for a higher bond, pointing out May's history of mental issues, fearing she could hurt others.
Mental health issues, bipolar and schizophrenia, as well as possessive or controlling behavior in the past, the young age of the victim, relationship with the parties, public safety concerns, as well as the risk of flight, as shown by her flight prior to her capture in Cleveland.
Reporting in Columbus, I'm Stephanie Dupre.
Back here at home, I'm kind of just hoping this rain just kind of scurries on out and maybe brings back some sunshine.
Maybe a little sunshine, maybe some snow, and then just some cold. And then it warms up again. You know, pretty much anything.
Like Ohio.
Whatever
like Ohio.
you want in the forecast, I think I got a little bit of it for you because we got a little bit of everything. So here's a look at what's going on for us. So rain made its way through. We saw some decent rainfall totals today. Some spots getting over an inch of rain as estimated by radar. So good soaking rain today, but that rain, saturated ground, and some falling temperatures overnight will allow some fog to develop for us. So we do have a dense fog advisory in effect for our northern counties until 9 a.m. tomorrow. That being said, our southern counties likely will see some fog across the area too. Right now, though, down to a half mile already in Troy, 0.3 of a mile in Greenville, Wapakoneta, as well as into Bell Fountain. So kids will wake up to a foggy start to the day. I'll talk about that chance for snow coming up.
Tonight, the mother of a 22-month-old boy who shot himself accidentally is now facing multiple charges. 24-year-old Rashonda Rogers and her girlfriend Darielle Brazel are behind bars tonight after the boy found his mother's gun and shot himself in the head. Now the Montgomery County prosecutor is launching a new campaign on safe gun storage. So Jenna Lee Bork joins us live now in studio to explain all of this new information tonight. Jenna Lee.
Yeah, Elise, after announcing the charges against the defendants, Prosecutor Heck went on to say his office has started a new campaign to promote gun safety because there are simply too many instances when kids find their parents' gun and hurt themselves or others.
Today, I'm announcing a new campaign addressing the issue of unsafe firearm storage. 75% of kids know where your firearm is hidden.
Earlier this month, police were called to Dayton Children's Hospital after Rashonda Rogers brought her 22-month-old son in with significant head injuries, claiming he fell and hit his head on a TV stand. The hospital staff didn't feel the boy's injuries were consistent with that explanation. Once police arrived, the truth came out. The toddler had found his mother's handgun and shot himself in the head, barely missing his brain. This incident putting more attention on gun safety.
Many times, those weapons are not stored properly. They're loaded and they're unlocked and they're available.
Since 2005, every gun purchase in the U.S. comes with a free gun lock. It's federal law. I spoke to the owner of the Miami Armory, David Becker, who told me about a couple of ways every gun owner can safely store their firearms.
So this is a cable lock that is sold with every gun purchase. And it's fairly simple to use, but I am not an expert at this. But it just goes through here. And then the cable goes in, turn the key, take the key out, and then that does not allow any ammunition to really go in or the clip to move forward.
Becker says gun safety is important, quote, right out of the gate. Outside of cable locks, lock boxes are good options to make sure your kids can't get your gun.
Generally, if it were going to be just something that I keep at home for self-defense, it would be in a lockbox in maybe a nightstand drawer. But when it comes to kids, you can teach them all about gun safety. There is actually protocol within the FFL community on how to keep kids safe. You got to follow those rules.
Becker says gun safety is always talked about with his customers because it's the responsible thing to do, something Prosecutor Heck echoes.
Using common sense and being responsible and not being careless, we can lessen the number of children injuring or killing themselves or others.
Prosecutor Heck says if you don't have a gun lock, call his office. He'll give you a lock for free. He wants to make it as easy as possible for gun owners to store their firearms safely. That phone number is on the screen behind me, and I'll have it linked in this story on Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Generally, thank you. Well, an American spacecraft has made its historic landing on the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. The Odysseus, nicknamed Odie, I should say, officially touched down at 6:24 tonight. Work will soon begin to assess the weather environment of the moon's south pole.
More than an outstanding effort. I know this was a nail biter, but we are on the surface and we are transmitting. And welcome to the moon.
Houston, Odysseus has found his new home.
While this mission is unmanned, I should say, NASA administrators say the space station plans to return a crewed mission to the moon in late 2026. Well, service for cell phone users now back online after a widespread outage affected thousands. The impact it had on local companies.
Plus, I'm tracking a foggy night before we have a chance for snow in the forecast. I'll have the timing that's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Tonight, a widespread outage for cell phone providers is now over, but earlier, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon customers couldn't make calls or get text. Lydia Bice spoke to local agencies who were impacted.
Some of us almost went back to these earlier today, as some AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile customers across the nation were unable to make calls or send text messages this morning. And this also impacted our local businesses here in the Miami Valley, as some of them had trouble communicating with customers. Now, Kevin Marichanian, president and owner of Programs with Purpose, which is a tax company in Kettering, had to reach out to some of his clients over social media like Facebook Messenger, which isn't exactly ideal since we're right in the middle of tax season. Now, this also had the potential to be dangerous in case one of these people that were impacted had an emergency and couldn't call 911.
So we're encouraging them to use text to 911. We have that capability here at the Regional Dispatch Center. Wi-Fi calling, landlines.
Now, most law enforcement agencies posted to their social media accounts today, letting residents know what to do to get in contact with them if an emergency took place. And although these outages are pretty much fixed at this time, you can head to Dayton247now.com where you can read some of those tips that law enforcement agencies had in case this ever happens again. Back to you.
Well, it was a soggy day that has moved out, and then now fog is developing across the area. To already have some pretty thick fog to some dense fog developing north of I-70. That will continue to be the trend overnight as the storm system that impacted us continues to head off to the east. We do start to see some colder air slide in. It's going to take a while for it to really settle in. So we wake up into the 30s, so much colder start tomorrow with that fog. Expect some clearing with temperatures in the 50s tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night, we do have a quick moving storm system that'll head its way in. This is going to bring us the potential for some snow showers Friday night, early Saturday morning. That makes its way through. We very well could see some minor snowfall accumulations across the area. So I'll have more on that coming up here in just a bit.
Attorneys in the high-profile trial of the person in charge of handling weapons on the set of Rust will be back in court in just a matter of hours. Now, the trial against 26-year-old Hannah Gutierrez-Reed began today. She's charged with involuntary manslaughter in the 2021 death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Hutchins was shot by a live round of ammunition fired from a prop gun actor Alec Baldwin was holding. Prosecutors argue Gutierrez-Reed violated safety standards.
These witnesses are going to describe the defendant's conduct as unprofessional and sloppy. You will hear testimony that she routinely left guns and ammunition lying around the set unattended.
Baldwin is also facing involuntary manslaughter charges. Both Gutierrez-Reed and Baldwin pled not guilty. Each face up to 18 months in prison and a $5,000 fine. Baldwin's trial date has not yet been set. A Texas judge rules a Houston area school district has not violated state law for suspending a black student over his hair length. 17-year-old Daryl George has been growing his hair in locks for years, but Barbers Hill High School determined the natural style violated his dress code. Now the school argues his hair is too long even when he wears them tied up. George's family says it violates the Crown Act, which prohibits race-based hair discrimination.
Even with Daryl made this statement and told me this straight up with tears in his eyes. All because of my hair, I can't get my education.
It means a lot to me. It's my roots, you know. It's how I feel closer to my people, how I feel closer to my ancestors, you know. I started my dreads for a reason.
Now, one of the bill's authors, State Congressman Ron Reynolds, says they're going to submit a new version of the bill. George's family may appeal the ruling. And a live look tonight over the Miami Valley. Still looking a little cloudy out there, but let's send things out to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, a lot of weather to talk about over these next several days. We got some fog tonight. Snow in the forecast tomorrow night. So there are signs that we could potentially see some minor snow accumulations. I will say it's too far out to really pinpoint where we're going to see some higher totals. But right now it looks like dusting looking pretty likely for most of our area, although some spots maybe could see at least an inch of snowfall Friday night into our early Saturday morning. So it is just something we're watching closely. Impact should be pretty minimal, but perhaps some slick spots developing on the roads Friday night, early Saturday, as temperatures fall into the 20s, and then it gets only into the mid-30s Saturday afternoon. Notice rebounding temperatures, though. We warm up very quickly back into the 60s by the middle of next week. And we're also tracking the potential for some storms by the middle of next week, too. So I'm going to talk about our next big weather maker and a look at our 7-day coming up.
We'll be right back after the break. You're watching Dayton 24/7. We have some updates now as we approach the March 19th primary election. Former Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley endorsing Representative Willis Blackshear in his run for state Senate. He's going for the seat in Ohio's 6th district, currently held by Senator Narajan Tani, who's running for Congress. Blackshear has overseen House District 38 for 4 years. He and Whaley talked about what he'll do if elected.
We don't have partners at the State House because of the extremism that's happening in Columbus. Willis will be someone that fights for Daytonians on day one. He's had the experience as a state rep these past 4 years, and I know he'll do what's best for our community.
This election right here, it decides, the direction in which the state will be going in. We've seen for far too long some of the things that has been happening at the legislature, and we have a great opportunity to elect someone who will fight on our behalf and will promote and bring dollars back into this community that will help advance our community.
Blackshear says he'll fight for everyday Ohioans, tackle the rising cost of living, and strengthen our public schools.
Wright State men's basketball trying for a regular season sweep of the Detroit Mercy Titans. Also, one area university with a chance to win both conference basketball tournaments this weekend. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.